Okay, guys. Shabbat Tov. Bezrat Hashem, this should be a beautiful week for everybody here. A lot of blessing, a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, a lot of life force, a lot of wisdom. Bezrat Hashem. So this lesson that we're on is very interesting and very pertinent, because what we're discussing right now is how should people who are fighting for the Jewish people, what should be their modus operandi? This Latin means, what is their mode of operation? What is it? What should they be, so to speak? How should they be viewing Jewish people who are far from Hashem or not necessarily connecting in the way that the Torah says to? So obviously, there's a whole segment of Jewish people, very holy people, and they take the tzad of let me scare them into doing what Hashem wants. And the Baal Shem Tov was very much against this. And he actually used to rebuke those people. He used to go around to different towns, and if he heard there was somebody who was rebuking his kahila, he would actually go up to him privately after and have him think twice about doing that. It's very limited effect to be able to, so to speak, try to make somebody do something. This is just in general, by scaring them. Ultimately, this will lead to the person either having a negative orientation to the thing which you're trying to help them with, or it just won't be real for them and it won't last. You want to be able to inspire a person, to encourage a person. This will have a much bigger effect, and it'll also have a much more long-lasting effect. And we see specifically, as we're speaking about Hanukkah and the candles, that Beit Hillel said the light should be going up. That means that we should be revealing more light to those people who are further, not less. It's very natural for a person, let's say, he wants that because he himself is trying to connect in a different way and he sees that others are not, that he's going to disconnect from those people. However, the Baal Shem Tov and his students said that we need to go chutza. We don't need to bring everybody in. We need to go out to them, and we need to shine the light at their level. And now Rav Natan is going to bring many different proofs to show that Hashem is actually very, very unhappy when big tzaddikim don't advocate for the Jewish people, even when they agree with Hashem. So this is very interesting. Because we see with big prophets and tzaddikim, spiritual masters, that Hashem himself complained to these tzaddikim, telling them about his own distress, so to speak, as it were from the many sins of the Jewish people. When they supported his words, meaning they agreed with Hashem, instead of advocating for Klal Yisrael, instead of advocating for the Jewish people who had fallen into error, he was very, very strict with them. He was very upset with them. Like it says with Hosea Hanavi, as it said in the Gemara Masechet Pesachim, and also like we see with Eliyahu Hanavi, that we know that Eliyahu is the messenger who's going to announce the coming of the Mashiach, that Eliyahu Hanavi himself, we know in fact that he is actually a Gilgul of Pinchas, that Chazal say this, that Pinchas and Eliyahu are one, and the Zohar says that it's a Gilgul, it's a reincarnation, and that because he was vigilant to fight for Tikkun Abrit, so now he achieves this concept of Shalom, that he is going to introduce peace into the world. And what's the peace that Eliyahu is going to introduce into the world? Mashiach. But he himself, in his vigilance, he was not able, so to speak, to hold the Jewish people with him, as Eliyahu himself was achieving very, very high spiritual levels, to the extent that when the Jewish people were not holding by where Eliyahu was holding, Eliyahu said as a response, Kano kineti, that I'm zealous for Hashem. Shamar lo ve'et Elisha ben Shaphat timshach lenavi tachtecha. And it says in the Mechilta, which is a commentary on the Torah from Chazal, so they say that Hashem was very upset with Eliyahu that he was not advocating for the Jewish people when they were falling. And instead he was agreeing with Hashem on paper. And what was the response? He said, Eliyahu, you're no longer going to be the Navi of the Jewish people. You're no longer the Tzaddik Ador. It's time to appoint your student Elisha instead. So we see how serious it is for Hashem that the tzaddikim, even though they're supposed to emulate Hashem and how they act, when it comes to how they deal with the Jewish people, they should be advocating for the Jewish people and not to be agreeing with Hashem. Hashem doesn't want this. Like we learned last week, that Moshe Rabbeinu, he left the camp of the Jewish people when they were falling spiritually, because he didn't want to be associated with them and to think that Hashem, he was, so to speak, he was giving haskama to what they were doing. He was agreeing with what they were doing. He didn't want Hashem to think that. And Hashem said to Moshe, said the Midrash, I'm upset with the Jewish people. You're also upset with the Jewish people? So who's going to help them? Meaning that even, so to speak, when Hashem is angry with us, it's to some degree, it's kivachol, it's like a facade. That yes, Hashem is not happy with what we're doing. But the truth is, the reason why he feels anger is because he wants the tzaddikim to advocate for us. We actually learn by Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Nachman says in the Kutub Moran, how do we deal with people? So he says, you see there that when Moshe went to Hashem, and the Jewish people did the worst error that they had made in history, which the golden calf, that Moshe advocated for the Jewish people, like it's going to say here. Shamar lo efshi b'nevotecha al shata mekatreg al Yisrael. So this is back on Eliyahu. He said, I have no wish for your prophecy since you're accusing the Jewish people. So it says here by Moshe Rabbeinu, Ki Hashem yiparach rotzeh rak shamlitzu tov al Yisrael. Hashem only wants that we speak favorably about the Jewish people. Rachamav al Yisrael, that we have compassion, that we have empathy for the Jewish people. Afil ahagurim, even those who are the worst ones. L'karav kulam elav yiparach, to bring them close to Hashem yiparach. Kamo Moshe Rabbeinu, like we see with Moshe Rabbeinu, that Moshe went up, and even though he knew more than anybody that the Jewish people had erred in the greatest way that has ever been, V'im ayin mechanina, he said, erase me from your Torah if you're going to erase the Jewish people. Because Hashem said to Moshe, that's it, I can't take it anymore. We tried it with the children of Israel. We tried it with the offspring, with the fruit of Yaakov Avinu, and it hasn't worked out. Let's do it with you. That's going to be B'nai Moshe. And Moshe said, if you're going to get rid of the Jewish people, I want you to erase me from your Torah. I'd rather die. So what's the point here? That Moshe advocated for the Jewish people. And it says by the sages that this was the greatest moment in Moshe's whole life. And the whole entire reason, so to speak, that Hashem put the Jewish people in a position to fall like this, because the Gemara says they weren't even fitting to do this. Just like it said, David HaMelech wasn't fitting to fall with Bathsheba. What's the reason that David fell with Bathsheba? What's the reason that the Jewish people fell with the golden calf? So the Gemara says to teach us that we can rise up from whatever we fell from. And at the same time, it was to give Moshe his crowning moment in his life, that he would achieve the highest level of bitul, the highest level of self-sacrifice, that even though he himself had sacrificed himself completely to Hashem, to do whatever Hashem wants, that even at the moment that the Jewish people did the opposite, he said that I'm with them. And we know that this was the crowning moment of Moshe Rabbeinu's life. And for this, we always say that the Torah is the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. and in his zchut, we had the redemption of Mitzrayim, and in his zchut, we're going to have the Geula in the end, because he will be the Mashiach himself. And this all came from his tremendous level of self-sacrifice for the Jewish people. Now, at the same time, when Moshe came down from the mountain, Hashem said that he rebuked the Jewish people. But when he was with Hashem, he advocated for them. So you see that there was two different modes of conduct. That when Hashem was speaking about the Jewish people to others, he never, chas v'shalom, said a negative thing about them. He always spoke positively about them. However, when he spoke to the person himself, he would try and give him directives in order to be able to grow from that place. And this is a good lesson for us in life, because often we do the opposite. When we're with people, we say, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's all good. And then we go to others and we speak negatively about them. So we learn from Moshe Rabbeinu the opposite, that when we speak to others about those people that we care about, that they're struggling, we try and give every single reason why to advocate for them, despite their actions. And then when we're with them personally alone, then we try and give them good instruction about how to overcome, about how to move out of and to achieve a higher level from this place that they fell to. This is the concept of we elevate to a higher level in Kedusha. We always go higher in Kedusha. Meaning what? The more that a tzaddik achieves a higher level, the more that he achieves higher perceptions of godliness, he needs more and more to elevate those souls around him, not to cut himself off from those people. That he needs to, so to speak, like this. If he's at a lower level, so he doesn't need to be as busy, so to speak, with elevating those around him. But as a person, a Jewish man, a Jewish woman is growing spiritually, so the higher they go, the more they have to be busy with those who are further. And let's say they get to the point that they are one of the highest in the generation. So then they have to be busy with those who are most furthest. And let's say he becomes the tzaddik hador, he becomes the tzaddik of the generation. So at that point, he needs to be most busy with those who are furthest. You might think the opposite, right? I have achieved such a high spiritual level, so now I'm going to be dealing with those people who are closer to me. I'm not going to be dealing with those people who are furthest. So comes the Torah to teach us the opposite. The more that you grow spiritually, the more you have to help those people who are in the darkness. V'lo moridin. Like it says, we don't go down in Kedusha. Dainu meaning, shezaharu shalo yiyu moridim v'nefashot ayaged godel Kedusha tam. Not to think that a tzaddik, he's careful not to bring down souls by pushing them away because he achieves a higher level himself. Dainu meaning shalo yagir lichlal kafeda al Yisrael mechamat godel Kedusha tam. That you shouldn't do with the nature of a person, that the higher he goes spiritually, the more that you grow in your consciousness, in your connection to Hashem, so the more, so to speak, you're going to have like a magnet, you know, the two poles, that you have the plus and you have another plus, and they push away. So the more that you grow, even though you feel like this person should be with you and he's not, so the more you push away from that person. But it should actually be the opposite. That the more that they are going further away, the more that you're growing, the more you need to make a greater effort to help those people. And you need to help bring them these hasagas of Elokut, meaning that you need to draw down at their level to be able to understand, that you need to be able to empathize with those people who are far, not to judge them. That because of this, people are not able to bear those people who are far. To the extent that you actually are angry at them. And then, because of you, you push them further from Hashem, chas v'shalom. And this is what it says, potech v'holech. This is what it said about Beit Shammai, that he said, let's decrease the light. Sha'amru Beit Shammai, but we don't paskin like him. Like it says in Pirkei Avot, And that means that the Torah gives haskama to this because we follow the halacha of Hillel in this world. That is that we need to bring those who are further close. Not that because we're growing spiritually, we should be makpid and we should distance them. We should do the opposite. Kilo kenhu, because this is not the correct way. We need to always go up in kedusha, not to decrease in it. Then we need to bring those who are further closer, not to push them away. Because all who achieve a higher level spiritually, that he achieves higher consciousness, higher closeness to Hashem, higher emunah, higher levels of being a tzaddik or a tzaddikah. Tzarich litchakem va'alot tzimtzumin chadashim b'dechbulot niflaot. He needs to achieve higher level of wisdom and creating constrictions and contractions, creating different ways to be able to take this higher level of closeness to Hashem that you have achieved and to bring it down for everybody at their own level in new, different ways. Until that he's able to bring down those souls who are further more and more and more. And to heal even those who are very, very far and very sick, and to bring them closer to Hashem. That all of this, this is all the concept of Ner Chanukah. This is the reason why, according to halakha, that we need to put the Hanukkah candles less than 10 tefachim. To teach you that this light needs to reach those people who are outside of the realm of Kedusha. That this is what Hashem wants. That we need to increase the light for those people. I'm just going to give you a beautiful story. We know, obviously, that the Baal Shem Tov, this was his whole mission. And this was in contradistinction to the Vilna Gaon and the camp of those people who, so to speak, they were advocating that the Jewish people should achieve very high levels of Kedusha on their own. And if those people outside of them are not, then you need to disconnect and to segregate and to isolate from them. And the Baal Shem Tov came and he said, Hashem doesn't want this. Like we're learning right now, that Hashem said to Moshe that if you're upset, so who's going to help them? Like he said to Eliyahu Hanavi, that if you are going to be makpid on them and I'm being makpid on them, so then you're not the tzaddik for the generation. We need someone who's going to bring them close. So put Elisha in your stead. We see that Rav Avadia Yosef, right, the Sephardi Gaon of this past generation, there was a story about him, a beautiful story. I remember I was struggling in yeshiva because when I was learning in Kollel, whenever I was learning, I always felt that I wasn't allocating my time properly. That whenever I was learning, I felt like I should really be helping Jewish people. Meaning going outside, going to them, lifting up those people who are further. And I didn't have yeshuv da'at. I didn't have peace of mind because even though I'm learning and I know it's good because I'm going to be able to help more, I felt like it was doing the opposite, that because I'm learning, I'm not actually doing my tafkid in my life, the purpose of my life, which I felt was to help those people who were furthest. And it was driving me crazy. And then when I was going and helping those people, I felt like I should be learning because if I learn, I have more to give. So no matter what I was doing, I had no yeshuv da'at. And I remember I was in yeshiva and my chavruta, my learning partner, he could see that I was really, really troubled by this. And I bared my heart to him. I told him how much I was struggling with this. He said, David, you know that you're not the only one who had this problem. I said, yeah. He said, what are you talking about? So he said, you know, Rav Avadia, there's a famous story about him that whenever he was learning, when he was younger, he had a koach to really connect to people. And he always felt when he was learning Torah, despite the fact that he was able to do it at a high level, that he always felt that he was misallocating his koach, that he should go help those people who are furthest, those in Israel, in the Sephardic community, that he felt he had a special koach to connect to them. So he always couldn't concentrate when he was learning because he felt like he should be helping them. And then when he went to go help them, he felt he was limited in how he can help them because he wasn't learning. And his mind was in learning then. So he had no peace. to the extent that apparently one day he was crying over this and asking Hashem, please Hashem, show me. I think he even prayed that the Ben Ish Chai should give him clarity, because he was the Sephardic Gaon in the generation before him. And apparently when he slept, he fell asleep after he was crying so intensely because he really didn't know what to do and he didn't want to waste the koach that Hashem gave him. And the Ben Ish Chai came to him in a dream and he told him, both, do both. That when you're here, be here, and when you're there, be there. Meaning that it's not a stira, it's not a contradiction. It's not either I'm learning or I'm helping. It's both. You need to have a time that you learn, and you need to have a time that you help. But when you're learning, your mind should be there. And when you're helping, your mind should be there. Okay? So this was a big shift in Rav Avadia's life because he was able to have peace in both, and he was able to excel at a higher level in both of them. However, the story that I want to actually tell you is at the end of Rav Avadia's life. There's a famous story about how he had a dream when he was much older. And apparently the Mashiach actually came to Rav Avadia in his dream. And he told him that you know that there's many people that they don't know how to keep Shabbat. And there's many people that they don't know basic things about Judaism. And Hashem wants that those people should be helped. That you should connect to those people who are furthest from him. Not that you should, because of those high levels that you have reached, that you should only, so to speak, appeal to that community of people who already believes, to those people who are already trying to grow. That you, Badavka, that the Sephardi Jewry, that those people who know, they should be going to those places that they don't know and trying to help those people. And he ended up waking up from this dream, and it affected him very much. I think there's like a YouTube video that talks about the whole thing. It's very, very powerful. But the point is like this, and this is what the Baal Shem Tov stressed. For Geula to take place, we need to understand that Hashem wants all of his children to be happy. He doesn't want some of them to be happy. He doesn't want some of them to be connected to Amunah. He doesn't want some of them to be connected to Torah. Even those people who will tell you, yeah, but you know, Mitzrayim, 4/5 got wiped out. And they say it with like this, to me, it's like disturbing. I don't know how people say it with almost like no feeling. When the Midrash itself says that when in Parshat Bashalach, actually there's a Midrash from Midrash Rabbah about Bashalach, how the ocean split for the Jewish people. And Hashem was leading the people to the ocean, and yet it uses the language of sadness. We know that when the Parsha starts with Vayahi, so it means that there's a negative event that's taking place. So Chazal, the sages say, I don't understand, this is going to be the greatest moment in Jewish history. That the Jewish people are going to be taken out of their slavery, out of their suffering, and their oppressors are going to be wiped out. There's many reasons that they give in the Midrash, but one of the reasons that they give is the reason why he was sad is because a lot of his children got wiped out in Mitzrayim. And that even though he was able to take out a portion of them, he was still not conciliated. He didn't have yeshuv dad, he didn't have joy because a lot of his children did not make it out of Mitzrayim. This is not a cause of Hashem's happiness. So therefore, we need to be able to have in mind that the more that we grow, the more we need to help those people who are further. Now, obviously, Rabbi Nachman says in the Likutei Moharan, there's a danger in this as well, and that is that when a person himself is not holding in a certain place, he can actually fall when he tries to help those people who are further. And therefore, you need to make sure you have very, very close attachment to a real tzaddik, meaning it's not for everybody to just go and help those people who are further. It's either for those people who have attained the level of what he calls a real tzaddik, that he has elevated himself above all of those spiritual lackings, which would make it a vulnerability for you to try and help those people, that you will sink and go into those places that they are in. Or if you have very close attachment, very deep hikashrut with these tzaddikim, that they've reached these levels, then Hashem gives you the koach that you won't be harmed by going to those places and helping those people. And this is called chasidim, that when you are a khasid, when you are a student of one of these tzaddikim, then you have a special koach to go help those people. Like we know that there was a famous story about Pesach, that Pesach, you have these 4 children, that you have the Chacham, you have the wise one, you have the Rasha, you have the one who is completely disconnected from spirituality, you have the Tam, the one who's very simple, right? And you have the one that he doesn't know how to ask. So these represent the 4 different types of Jews. So we see here that the Chacham is supposed to sit next to the Rasha. So that fits well in with what we're learning here. However, we have an issue because in Pirkei Avot, it says that those people who are trying to get closer to Hashem, they should stay far away from negative influences. And we know in the beginning of Tehillim, it says there that you need to stay as far away from negative influences as possible. So which one is it? Am I trying to help those people who are far while I'm growing? Or am I trying to stay away or to bring them closer? So Rav Yitzchak Ginsburg says there, that's why it's important to be a khasid. Meaning that when you are on when you have shlichut, when you're shliach, when you are on a mission, when you are sent by your Rebbe, by your tzaddik to go help those people, then you're protected from the negativity that would come with them being in a lower place, because you are sent on a mission. Because we know that the sages say in the Gemara that any Jew who's sent on a mission to do a mitzvah, he can't be affected by negativity. But that's only if he's sent on shliach. If he himself goes on his own, so then he is vulnerable to negativity. However, if he's sent on a mission, so then he can't be affected. Now, very interestingly, we have with Yosef HaTzadik that he was sent by his father, Yaakov Avinu, to go help his brothers. And we know that this is a mashal to the fact that Yosef is the tzaddik of the generation. And that his brothers, so to speak, are those Jewish people who either are far from Hashem, those are represented by Bilhah and Zilpah's children, and then those ones who are close to Hashem on paper. These are Leah's children. But they themselves, even though they think that they're close, they also have room to grow. Like Rabbi Nachman says, the whole ikr of the tzaddik of the generation is he's able to show those people who are very far, who are represented by Bilhah and Zilpah's children, that they're actually very close, and to be able to show Leah's children that even though they think that they're very close, they're still very far. And in doing that, he's able to bring both of them closer to Hashem. So Yaakov Avinu, who Kabbalah explains that Yaakov is, so to speak, the epitome, the living manifestation of Hashem himself, sends Yosef, meaning the tzaddik, to go to his brothers in Olam Hazeh, in this world, and to go lift them out. So the question is, how did Yosef get sent into slavery? How did he get sent into such suffering at the hands of his brothers? The sages say, if he was sent on shliach, Yaakov Avinu sent him on a mission. The Tzaddik Ador sent him on a mission. So he shouldn't be able to get affected in a negative way. So the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, he comes and he says a Chiddush Nifla. Yaakov told him to go to Shechem to help them, to take them out. However, we know that when he went to Shechem, he saw that his brothers weren't there. And as a result of that, he saw the Malach Gabriel, who was pretending to be a person. And he said, where are my brothers? He said, they're in Dotan. So as a result, Yosef went out to his brothers in Dotan to go fill his father's directive. But his father's directive was specifically, go to Shechem to help them. So we see here the koach of being on shliach. The koach only comes, the strength only comes when you are sent by your Rebbe on the specific mission that he sent you. But if you divert in any way, then you don't have the koach of being protected from harm in this area. So this is the lesson for us in our life. We need to go help those people who are further, but only in a way that the Rebbe advocates for, and you're doing it, so to speak, that you're mekayiming the eitzah, you're mekayiming the advice, you're fulfilling the advice of your Rebbe to help those people, and not to go beyond the bounds of those things. And this is why you see that when, so to speak, Rebbes or tzaddikim, they send out people to people who are far away, that you see that those children are not affected negatively by those neighborhoods. You would think they must be. Why? Because their neighborhoods are so far disconnected from spirituality. However, because they have the koach of being sent by their Rebbe on a shliach, so then they are protected from all the negativity and they have a positive effect there. But if they're not sent there and they go on their own accord, so then they get sucked in that area. We'll do one more little piece here because it's short, and then we'll go for questions. Therefore, the nace of Hanukkah was through the Kohanim. Why was it specifically through the Kohanim? Because we know that the Maccabees, Matityahu and his children, they were all Kohanim. So why were they Kohanim? Because we know the Kohen spiritually, Kabbalistically, comes from the right side. There are three different chilukim, divisions of Jewish people. There are Kohanim, there are Leviim, and there's Yisrael. There's a very deep spiritual root for each of these three things. We know that there are three lines in Kabbalah. There's the right side, the left side, and the middle. The right side is called khasid, the left side is called gevura, and the middle line is called rachamim. It's the harmony between those two. Spiritually, Kohanim come from the right side. The root of the souls of Kohanim, they come from the right side, from Chesed. The root of the souls of Levi'im, it comes from Gevura, which is actually the deep reason why they're connected to music, because music comes from Gevura. The middle side, Rachamim, is where Yisrael comes from. Now, why is it that the miracle of Hanukkah came from the Kohanim, who derive from the right side in Kabbalah? They come from Chesed. Why? Bechinat Avraham, because this is the concept of Avraham, that Avraham Avinu is the archetype. He is the living manifestation of the right side of Chesed. The whole right side is called Avraham. Through this chotchin et malchut me'aba malchiut. Because Rabbi Nachman teaches that based on Kabbalah and Chassidut, what is it that rips out the Jewish malchut, that we are not under the authority of secular malchut, of secular kingship, that we know even now that the Jewish people are at the we are at the whim of the secular authorities in terms of what we are allowed to do as long as we live in those places. And even when you live in Eretz Yisrael, we still have secular authorities, right? There is no kingship yet until Mashiach comes, where we will be under the malchut of the Torah of Hashem. So how do we take ourselves out of this? So Rabbi Nachman says that there's a very deep Kabbalistic secret, that it's through Avraham Avinu that you destroy the four kingdoms, which we know the four kings which Avraham Avinu was able to overcome are the manifestations of the four klipot, the four different types of secular governments or secular wisdoms, which are trying to cause us to assimilate both psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in every way. And these are represented by Bavel, by Paras or Media, by Yavan, and by Rome. And even though these were four living governments, four manifestations of real nations, we know that they're actually derived from four spiritual klipot. And we're dealing with all of them right now, because we know for the final Geula to take place, we're actually going to have to be extracted from all four of them. That's why this Galut lasts so long, because we're going to need to be ripped out by all four of them at the end. And the power of this is the power of Avraham. That's the power of Chesed. That we need to sever the Malchut from the four kingdoms and vitalize it with the light from the Or Panim that shines from the Shalosh Regalim. That is, that Hanukkah commemorates the rededication of the second Beit HaMikdash at the time of the Maccabean revolt against the Greek Empire. It's also linked to the dedication of the Mishkan that was in the Midbar, in the desert. So it says like this, Va'al ken nikra Chanukah. That's why it's called Chanukah. Al Shem Chanukat Beit HaMikdash, because Hanukkah was the rededication, the inauguration of the Beit HaMikdash, that it was in those days. Ki Ikar Or Panim, because the essence of the light of the revelation of Hashem's presence in this world, Huba Beit HaMikdash, it is called the Beit HaMikdash. The Beit HaMikdash is not just a building. The Beit HaMikdash is the manifestation of the light of the Shekhinah in this world. That the Beit HaMikdash, so to speak, is the rectified state of humanity. Like Hashem said to the Jewish people, make a Mishkan and I'll dwell in you. So Chazal, the sages say, what do you mean? Make a Mishkan and I'll dwell in the Mishkan. The answer is that the Beit HaMikdash is a physical manifestation of the way that we're supposed to making ourselves. We're supposed to be turning ourselves into a Beit HaMikdash, to make ourselves into a house of Kedusha. Kedusha is a code word for the Shekhinah, for godliness. Okay? So the Beit HaMikdash is the house, or it is the space in which there is a revelation of godliness. So this takes place in Yerushalayim, in the final Beit HaMikdash. Now in the second Beit HaMikdash, again, we had the revelation of godliness. The first one we had the most intense. The third one will be more intense than all two combined. And we know that by Hanukkah, we rededicated the Beit HaMikdash, meaning we had a new revelation of the Or Panim, the light of Hashem's face. Shoshim olin beraglim lekabel or panim. And we know that Chazal teach, the sages teach in the Gemara, that we're supposed to, and the Torah says it, that we're supposed to go up 3 times a year to Yerushalayim for these Chagim. That is Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. What's the reason? Because in Kabbalah, it's explained, the Arizal teaches, that the light of Hashem's face, specifically, it is drawn down, it is brought down and revealed in this world in a deeper way than the rest of the year on those 3 Chagim. And where does that take place? In the Beit HaMikdash. That's the space where is the revelation of Hashem. So therefore, we're supposed to be going to that place. Because the Beit HaMikdash is destroyed, we do not have this chiyuv now. But when the Beit HaMikdash is rebuilt, we will again have to all go up to Yerushalayim, because there will be the revelation of the light of Hashem, which Rabbi Nachman speaks about in the Likutei Moharan, is the source of all peace, the source of all life force, the source of all joy, the source of all spirituality, the source of all unity, the source of all livelihood, that it all is reflected and revealed in the light of Hashem's face, the Or Panim. This is all the concept of Hanukkah. That Hanukkah was the concept of the Kohanim, meaning Chesed, that it is the revelation of the love of the Jewish people for the other Jewish people, that extracts us from the other side. This is what caused the rededication of the Beit HaMikdash. That through this we receive revelations of godliness. That this is the essence of the lighting of the Ner Hanukkah. Now this is a very important point, and this is something that the Baal Shem Tov stressed, that he said, Chau Chaval, when he saw Jewish people, that their whole entire efforts in their life were in learning Torah only, and so to speak, secluding themselves in yeshivas, and not going out and helping their Jewish brothers and sisters who are far from Hashem. Why did he say this? Obviously, it's not a chiddush that the Baal Shem Tov believed that the most important thing, like we're learning now, is to bring all those Jewish people back who are far. So we see this, that they call this kiruv now. The issue is that kiruv is a business. And kiruv is just about as much about making money is, unfortunately, as it is about helping Jewish people. And it's about filling off a quota and saying, we got them into yeshiva. Okay? The kiruv of Chassidut is, it's not about how many people get into yeshiva. It's about how close are we getting these people to Hashem. Okay? This is real kiruv. However, you don't make as much money doing that because you can't quantify it, because people are complicated. However, the Baal Shem Tov says, here's the chiddush. They said to him, how did you achieve such high levels of consciousness? How did you, the Baal Shem Tov, get to reach these very, very deep levels of Hasaga Elokut? So the Baal Shem Tov said, a chiddush nifla. If Jewish people understood that through self-sacrifice, for Mesirat Nefesh, for the Jewish people, you can reach a much higher level of Hasaga Elokut, God consciousness, than you can even just by learning Torah, then those people who are learning Yom V'Laila, they would spend more time sacrificing themselves for the Jewish people, even if that means not learning as much, because what's the whole point of their learning? They want to achieve higher revelations of godliness. And if they understood that the highest level of their soul is actually called, and it's activated through Mesirat Nefesh, that is the keter of their soul, so then they would line up to be able to sacrifice themselves for the Jewish people, because they would understand that even higher than the Chokhmah of the Torah is the Mesirat Nefesh for the Jewish people. And this itself brings greater levels of God consciousness, like we see by Moshe Rabbeinu, that at the end of the day, how did Moshe Rabbeinu bring down the Torah for the Jewish people? How do we have the Mishkan, where is the Shekhinah, that is the revelation of godliness in the world? It was when he sacrificed himself for the Jewish people. He didn't say, I'm going to go lock myself in the yeshiva when the Jewish people were off. He said, I'd rather die for them than continue to live. And as a result of that, the result, the Ramban says, is the Mishkan. That through his self-sacrifice, we then got the mitzvah of the Mishkan, which is the Beit HaMikdash, that is the full revelation of godliness in the world. Any questions from today's lesson? We have a question on the bottom here, and then we'll get to the questions verbally. I grew up non-observant, and I come from a completely non-observant family. I've always been very connected and wanting to learn and observe more. I've been married for 18 years and I have 3 teenagers. I've been keeping Shabbat for the past 8 months on my own. Kol hakavod. Baruch Hashem, my husband and children accept it, but do not have the same feeling I have, and they don't want to keep it. I feel like I am moving against the current backwards. It's very hard to navigate. I constantly get ridiculed and made fun of by people around me. I don't care about what they think, but don't know how to help bring people closer. Okay, so this is an amazing question. And first off, I want to tell you that you are a hero. You know, a lot of people feel that those people who, so to speak, maybe they're learning Yom V'Laila, they're in yeshiva, X, Y, and Z, these are the heroes. I really, truly believe that the heroes are those people that they are in families, and they themselves are, so to speak, taking it upon themselves to do whatever they can to be close to Hashem, even though the rest of the people in the family or their friends are not so keen on what they're doing. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of self-sacrifice. It takes a lot of bitul, self-nullification. And so I just want to tell you, kol hakavod, and Hashem is very, very proud of you. So that's the first thing that you should know, is that you're a hero. If you understand that, then you will have the koach and the strength to continue. That's first off. Secondly, I'm going to tell you something that's very deep and it's very simple. The word Mashiach, the Redeemer, if you flip the letters around, it spells Yismach, means he makes happy. What does that mean, that the Mashiach is going to make us happy? Obviously, if we are already happy, then the Mashiach doesn't need to come and do that. So clearly, the chidush, the novelty of Mashiach, is going to be that he's going to bring real joy to a world that's not happy. And Rabbi Nachman says in Likutei Moharan that the whole entire reason that a person does not want to grow spiritually, they don't want to keep the mitzvot, even if they know it's true, or let's say for your family that they don't know it's true, it doesn't make a difference. Rabbi Nachman says a very, very big yesod. The reason why a person does not want to keep the mitzvot to get closer to Hashem and grow spiritually is because they're not happy. Okay? And if they saw that getting closer to Hashem actually brings more happiness, so everybody wants to be happy, and they would do it. So therefore, this is the big secret. Rabbi Nachman teaches, and it's based on Kabbalah, that the light of Hashem's face, which nullifies all darkness, is called joy. And therefore, if while you are doing the mitzvot and you're keeping Shabbat and you're doing all these things at home, You don't have to convince them that what you're doing is right or what you're doing is true. If they see that you're truly happy, that you're genuinely happy, that it doesn't look like a burden for you, that you don't look like you're stressed in doing it, that you're excited to do it, that you love praying, that you love learning, that you love keeping Shabbat, that you love saying Tehillim, that you love being close to Hashem, that you are genuinely happy and you don't need drugs and you don't need alcohol and you don't need superficial external means in order to make you happy. This itself will cause them to do teshuvah. Because every single person is looking to be happy. Every person wants joy. Everybody wants to be happy. Now, when a person thinks that the only way to do that is through Facebook, is through Instagram, is through Netflix, is through movies, X, Y, and Z, and doesn't realize it's within the Torah itself. So if he saw that there's greater joy in the Torah, so why wouldn't he do it? He doesn't because he doesn't think that there is. He hasn't experienced that. She hasn't experienced that, which is not their fault. Okay? So the whole chiddush of Chassidut, the whole revelation of the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Nachman, is to show you that there is no greater simcha than in having devekut, closeness with Hashem. And me personally in my life, I've seen many, many more people want to get closer to Hashem as a result of just seeing that I'm happy, just seeing how much joy I have in keeping Shabbat and doing the mitzvot, than me even saying over a devar Torah and me even saying over, you really shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing that. And me, myself, when I started to keep Shabbat in the beginning, before I kept Shabbat, I spent my first year going to Shabbatons. I didn't even believe it was true. And I felt like these people were Nebuch, that they were in a cult. However, when I saw that the rabbi himself, he never even told me what to do. They never told me I should do anything. But he was happy every time I saw him. He was genuinely happy. And even on Shabbat, when there's no technology, I saw that there was no decrease in happiness. He was as happy, if not happier. And they were speaking about real things, connecting about real things. And I saw that there was an inner state of peace, that he himself didn't need external means to be happy. And he was connected in a deeper way. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants to be happy like that. I even saw there was a person who I think he's not even Jewish. Apparently, he was he was felt very brave, and he decided that he wanted to learn more about cultures that he wasn't familiar with firsthand, not to hear what the news says about it, not to hear what even their own people say about it, but to go actually see what it's like. And apparently this non-Jewish person from, I think, Vermont or something, he decided that he was going to go live with Chassidim in Brooklyn or something like that, or in Ukraine. And then he ended up getting to Brooklyn. And spending time with those people firsthand instead of hearing what they say about Chassidim from even the Jewish world or on the news. And he said that he came away and his experience of them was completely different than what was said about them. And he said specifically, one of the things that he appreciated so much about them was that he actually said that in a weird way, even though on paper, because it looks, they have so many rules, right? And he obviously, for him, he's not Jewish, so it's even more intense that you have all these different mitzvot that we call them, all these different guidelines that Jewish women have to do this and Jewish men have to do this, and one day a week we're not allowed to do this. And on paper, from the outside looking in, it looks like slavery, whereas the secular world feels that they're free. And he said, and it was unbelievable when I heard this because I feel like this. He said that I felt more free with this community. I had felt a greater sense of freedom on Shabbat with these people than I do in the secular world. And if you are vigilant, and if you are bold and courageous, and you don't give up on it, you don't respond defensively, you don't get angry when you see that they don't believe. You're confident. You believe in what you believe, and you just keep going. You will see ultimately The light of simcha, the light of love, the light of joy, says the Midrash, cannot be extinguished and overcomes all barriers. However, the truth, emet, is something that's only revealed in the end. The word emet is comprised of 3 letters. The first letter is aleph, the middle letter is mem, the last letter is taf. This is the first, middle, and last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. What is Hashem trying to teach us? That truth is made up by the beginning and middle and end of the Hebrew alphabet. That the truth is something which is consistent and it's only revealed in the end. Therefore, just hold on. Don't give up. And I'm telling you, even myself, that so many times for the first 5-6 years that I was in such pain because I was trying to show people how sweet this is, how beautiful it is, but I was trying so hard to give it out and not using that energy to allow myself to feel comfortable and to feel happy and to feel whole and secure in what I was doing. I actually was pushing them away. So the best suggestion I can have is the happier, more genuine, more authentic that you can make Hashem for in your own life, the more that those people around you will see the light of the Torah within you, and they will be attracted. The way that the Hasidus teaches this, which is very beautiful. Thank you so much. The way that Hasidus teaches this, which is so beautiful, is that I heard this from Rav Yitzchak Ginsburg. He says that the traditional Jewish world, the way that they do kiruv is they try and show you that the Torah is true. And the way of Hasidus is to show you that the Torah is beautiful. Why? It's not because they're interested in kumbaya. It's not because they are want it to be that we should all be in a state of peace, even if people are far and they're not doing the right thing. The reason is very deep. Everything that Chassidut suggests to do is very deep. That is like this. What is the whole ikar of beauty? Beauty attracts. When a person sees someone beautiful, he wants to be close to them. When you see that you're a partner and when you're trying to get married and you see that a person is attractive, so what does it mean that they're attractive? If you've ever thought about it, attractive means that they're good looking, but attractive literally means that they attract, meaning because they have some type of look, now they attract me like a magnet. So Chassidut teaches that beauty attracts. That's the nature of beauty. This is the way Hashem created beauty. Now, if you show the beauty of Torah, that is the joy of Torah, the simcha of Torah, the chasidus, if you teach the deep beauty of Torah, then automatically Jewish people will be aroused to want to know more about it because it's beautiful. And the nature of beauty is that it attracts. However, you have to be vigilant. It takes time. There's a lot of barriers. There's a lot of obstacles that get in the way. And therefore, you need to just be very resilient, very bold, very courageous, that you have peace and joy and love with them. And on your own, you pray very deeply for everybody around you. Any other questions? No? Is there a question being asked? I hear something in the background, but I don't know if it's a question. Okay. Tomorrow night, we are going to have a class. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have a class. 10:30 a.m. Please stop unmuting yourself, guys. 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're going to have a class in Kutei Halachot. And tomorrow night, we're going to have a class at Kut Moran at Od Yosef Chai in Queens on Main Street. If you want to know where that is and you're local, it'll be sent below, or you can email us at sionbreslev@gmail.com. And if you're not local and you want to watch the class, you can see it on Zoom at 9 p.m. tomorrow night. It's an amazing, amazing lesson about how to attain this level of simcha, how to attain this joy. And it's not how you think it is. So tune in tomorrow night, Bezrat Hashem, for that lesson. Everybody have an amazing, amazing day.